Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well today. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Good morning, Troy. Good morning, everybody. Welcome.
I appreciate it. Happy Monday. We got
Yeah,
a gloomy little Monday here in Knoxville, Tennessee, but
yeah. So far, yeah,
so far supposed to be sunny. Big weekend, a lot of madness this March. Dan, did you
that's
get a
right.
chance to catch up on anything?
A lot of basketball. I was thankful to kind of finagle into a free trial. Was able to watch some of the games, and it's so exciting just because a lot of these schools. I found myself Googling, these different schools that you're not as familiar with. Now it's
Oh
getting more
yeah,
familiar now that you get to the final 16, the blue, whatever they say.
that's right.
But it is exciting to see, and these kids, when you think about it, I just thought from a young kid, you know, this is it. This is your
Yeah,
last. If you lose, there's no like, okay, we'll have this easing off. We'll have some conferences, some dinners, a couple games. You're
that's
done.
right. Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
bye.
yeah, yeah,
We'll see you
yeah.
later.
If you're a 6'2" white guy
Oh,
playing on St. Mary's,
oh,
this is it.
you're done. You better
Yeah,
get your job in the. You better get an assistant coach or in the video department working
that's
with the
right.
coach or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Analytics is your future for
that's
sure.
right. They're lined up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Dan, this is an exciting day. I have worked all weekend on a new intro that I think fits the show. We had
We're
a lot of
ready.
we had a lot of people asking, saying, "Hey, we got to put Rusty in. You need to put Rusty in. He's part of
Oh
the
boy.
show,
Oh
even
boy.
if for once a week." So
Yeah.
I give you guys the new Option Omega theme song. Here we
Oh my
go.
goodness. This is
Every morning at 8:45 Eastern, Option Omega's got your back. Troy's dreaming big like LeBron. Matt's backtesting like a daddy Mac. Dan's 30 years got our way, trading life and markets every day. Rusty's chained to the mines, digging deep day by day. But when Option Omega releases new features, he's free to come out and play. Option Omega, you're trading home, where every move makes you feel less alone.
It feels better.
wow. I just wish we had Rusty on the show today because I'd love to see his I mean it was priceless. I mean,
Special special guest. I think he'll be here tomorrow.
yeah, that
I think.
was
Yeah.
you outdid yourself. That's all I got to say.
I
You
I
outdid yourself.
appreciate you. I'm not good at video development, and you can see that, but you see the effort, you see the work,
Yeah.
So,
I
did
agree
you?
with Bill. The Blues were
Yeah.
good. Those were
Did you? Chicago, growing up in Chicago, was the blues the thing?
it was. I mean, uh, I grew up through the
Oh yeah,
disco,
yeah,
which was just. I mean, when you
yeah.
think about it, the disco and the battle, and then it culminated into we had a disc jockey that rented out Comiskey Park where the Sox play, and he got so fed up. He was a hard rock guy, and they had encouraged everybody to bring their disco records to Comiskey Park, whatever, and they burnt them all. And it was just like that was but blues have always been uh, a big part of the Chicago market.
Yeah,
Um, uh,
I was a good.
I was thinking of that when you think about with the market up today and the VIX, which was a week and a half ago, was pretty high, 29 or whatever. And you think of the BB King, the thrill is gone, baby.
That's
It's like
right.
the fear is gone.
That's
That's
right.
what I was thinking. over the weekend. As we closed at the VIX at 19, and it'll be lower today probably because the market's up. But it's that the fear is gone.
That's right.
At
That's
least
right. Well,
today.
that's a good segue. Got the morning rundown today. So two things. We got Maryland. Can't talk about basketball too much, but last night, Dairy Queen hits the game winner. I think 3 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah.
Beats Colorado State. Did you get a chance to see any of those highlights, Dan?
Not the Maryland Colorado State game. No. Who was the higher seed?
Colorado State. Colorado State was up 1 with 3 seconds left.
Wow.
And then this guy hit the floater and off the backboard and got it. And so
oh my goodness.
They asked him at the end. They said, what gave you the confidence to be able to do that and in the face of adversity? And he said, I'm from Baltimore, which I thought was from anything I've ever heard of Baltimore. I was like, well, that checks out.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense. Baltimore's a rough place. Yeah, but everybody has pride in there. You hear that a lot. I'm from the, Derrick Rose from the Bulls. I'm from the south side of Chicago. I'm from the west side. I'm from the blah side of New York. Troy, I think you should start. I'm from the east side of Tennessee.
Oh, listen, I always tell people I'm from Houston, and people say, well, what part? And I'll say Conroe. And I used to think, because I moved here when I was really young, and apparently Conroe is a really nice part of Houston. So I've rolled with that. People say, hey, you're from Conroe. I can roll with you. You're obviously in the oil business. I said, well, yeah.
And you go along with it?
I go along with it. But I've driven through some parts of Houston before where I was like, oh, boy, I should be out here right now. Yeah, Houston's got some areas. Yeah. Houston's huge, but it's all asphalt. It's like the third. It's up there with Chicago as far as population.
Yeah, it's getting big. It's weird. I have a first cousin, Sheila Keneally. They went 35 years ago. This is still crazy, and they still have it. They went to Houston 35 years ago to open an Irish bar. With the music, and they still are doing it. 40 years later. But of all places, Houston. I mean,
145 degrees. 99% humidity.
Yeah. Right.
Unbelievable. Well, and then secondly, I mean, it looks like today the market is tired of being tired. Yeah. It had a sense, I feel like last week, Dan, where we just weren't doing anything. You'd go down 20, 30 points and the VIX is like, And those days, it doesn't mean we're going to open up 70 the next day every time, but it just seems to me like, the market was just kind of directionless for a little bit. And I think it's probably still directionless, but it's going to keep trying to test different sides.
Yeah. And I think it's going to continue to get some volatility, right? I mean, the candles are starting to subside. We were having a historic, in terms of the candles that measure the high and the low distance in the SPX. I've never seen anything like that in decades over the last 3 weeks to a month. Almost 100-point candles every day. It receded a little bit last week, but I would continue to think it's going to be pretty good, right? I mean, you look at the ES overnight, that's had a pretty good range. But I think, Troy, a lot of it, in my opinion, is with the fear, I think it's getting used, maybe people, just my opinion, I don't know anything about politics or anything, but it's just people getting used to this whole, not just the tariffs, but Trump, that he's just, it's just, hey, I want something for myself. It's like a typical, just give me something. Troy, I'm going to take your cars, your house, your family, and your cows. Okay, by Tuesday, right? Yeah. And then all he wants is just, hey, Troy, cut my lawn, do something for me. And it just seems like there's some kind of, like already, the market's quiet today, or the market's going up because he's caving in a little bit on his April 1 and 2 stuff. Yeah. Well, what did you think? I mean, that's what they're made for, right? I mean, in terms of him, the ultimate deal maker. But I think with the question is, as VIX gets to 18 here, is this going to mirror more 2022, where the range for most of the year in VIX was 18 or 19 to 31, or are we going back to 13 or something? I mean, for me, my opinion right now, I still, like you just said, I think we'll continue with the volatility. I think we'll have some up and down, but I'd be shocked if we went to 13, 14, 15 right away. I mean, there's too many things going on right now. But I think the big thing is just to remember is for folk, or a couple things, it looks like we may be, we were most of last week just hovering around. I mean, extremely range bound last week. It was only up 30 points for the week. It was the first time in 2-3 weeks we've been within the expected move. We are hovering around the 8 EMA. I mean, just a short-term one. And now we're up to the 21, and it's just, at the opening here. But I think the VIX should be around the 18 level. But I think, we'll still have some two-way and stuff like that. But it should be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Well, let's take a look at a test today. And we have an idea we're going to run by you. What we're going to do is we're going to take this week and we're going to start with this strategy. We have this one strategy that we're going to show you. And we're going to keep adding to it until by the end of the week, Lord willing, it's a good test. It's something that you might have confidence to maybe test out in the waters a little bit. So, Dan, if you're okay with it, I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at a 1 DTE iron fly. You'll see version 1 because, like I said, we're going to make a bunch of changes throughout the week. But, Dan, first off, someone who's new to option trading, what is an iron fly?
You want to share the...
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. Now, one thing, folks, it looks a little, as you look at the graph here, it looks a little wounded, but that's, and the Greeks may be off a little bit just because it's, what's the word? It's before the opening, right? So toss is giving some crazy deltas, but let's just go over the mechanics of an iron butterfly. Iron butterfly is simply, you're doing a at the money call credit spread and an at the money put credit spread and call credit spread. It's basically in the same family as the iron condor, with the exception, the iron butterfly, it's all at the money are your shorts. So you're selling that high extrinsic value. And the foundation of an iron butterfly is just a short strangle. You're selling an at the money call and put. The foundation of an iron condor is a short strangle, selling the out of the money call and put. So you're going to get more theta on an iron butterfly than you do an iron condor. So when you look at it, it's basically, in this example, I'm just using the close as of Friday, 57.70. And the whole reason you're doing, 56.70, the whole reason you're doing an iron butterfly is to sell the at the monies. And you say, well, why would I be so excited about selling at the money calls or puts? Because they have a ton of extrinsic value. And that's the part of an option that just decays. And that's what you want. You want that daily decay. And then, but you say, well, why don't you just, Dan, if that's the key, why don't you just sell the at the money call and put and call it a day? Because the brokerage firm will call you up in about a half hour and they'll say,
that's right,
we need your children, your houses, your cattle, your goats, everything to cover that short. It's going to cost you $500,000 to do one short strangle. You say, you know what? On a $6,000 I'll tell you what, let's do some hedges. So in this example, and what Troy's going to talk about in the back testing, we're going to go 75 points out of the money to buy some hedges. Why do you buy hedges? To get lower margin. And as you get lower margin, you'll have lower yield. So if you look here on the call side, I'm going to buy the 57.45s. And on the put side, I'm going to buy the 55.95s. And what that does to it is it gives you these guardrails, as Troy will mention. And that basically says you have a defined risk spread. So you have this profitable area here that here we are closed as 56.70 on Friday. You have this profitable area of which you make money. And then as we go outside this profitable area, you can lose money. But the whole idea, now this theta is, well, that's going to be close, but you have a lot of theoretical theta. And so because again, this is a 1-day iron condor. So this would expire tomorrow. And you can do this as 75 wide. And that just means the distance from the short to the longs is 75 wide. As you know, if you're smaller and you want to do a smaller trade, go 30 wide or 20 wide. If you did this at a brokerage firm, right? Again, you get a big credit, right? A big credit, and you get excited about a credit, 58.30. But if you look to do this trade, you could see the buying power effect. This would be about $1,600. The way you do the margin or risk with an iron butterfly, you simply take the distance in strikes. So you have 75. So $7,500 less, what's the credit? Let's just call it 58. For math purposes, I'm going to call it 59 because I can do that math better. 5,900 is your credit. So your risk is going to be about $1,600. You see? And if you go real quick, some people might go, I'm going to do it 30 wide or 40 wide for a 1 day. Let's say you go 57, 30, just to give you an idea, 57, 30, 40 wide, and then 58, 10. And you could see, well, they're giving me a debit here, something. It's just before the opening.
Yeah, the opening is messing everything.
Oh, you know what? I hit the wrong, I'm hitting a call butterfly. I'm sorry. If I go 56.70, I'm sorry, go up 40 to 57.10, go down 40 to 56.30. Okay. And then you could see here, now I'm bringing in a $35 credit. My width is 40. So it's only costing $500, right? So you can do, relatively much cheaper trade depending on your width. You're trading off, right? The narrower the wings on a butterfly, these are called expiration break-evens. The narrower the width you have to make money. As you go wider, like 75 wide, you're just going to get a little more money, but it costs more. But I think this is iron butterflies are a very popular trade, and it's just your purest way of selling premium, selling juice, selling that extrinsic. It's the purest form of just sell the option that has the most extrinsic value, which is the at the money. But don't ever forget the other part. Call it guardrails, risk management, buy some wings. Unless you have, like Troy mentioned earlier, 3-4 oil wells and you just don't care, right? Your margin is going to be astronomical. Whereas here you can see your margin, well, they don't fully have, and I think Thinkorswim, they're margining this 40 wide at $4,000. It's not, because they're not including the credit on it. But anyways, so that just a gist of this, that this is a premium selling strategy. Premium meaning you're just selling that extrinsic value. We would call this positive theta type trade, income producing type trade. But again, the key to all these, this isn't as high probability as an iron condor, but you're getting more positive theta. So they're just as good in their own way.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And so if you look at this is kind of implementing what Dan just showed you in a graph. And so this is basically ran for 5 years, January 1st, 2020, that fateful year, to here last week. And basically you're putting you're opening a trade at 10:15 in the morning, and you're selling a 1 DTE iron fly, and it's at the money. The short strikes are at the money, and the wings are 75 points away, equidistant away. You're allocating 5% of your portfolio. Again, options involve risks. We don't ever say to allocate a specific amount. We're just showing backward-looking tests, not forward-looking tests. If we had forward-looking tests, we wouldn't be here. We'd be at the press box of whatever game we wanted to see at any moment. So anyway,
the Bears.
The Bears, that's right. Man, how much would you pay to see them win anything at this point, Dan? But that's a separate. Listen, we'll get off track. So this has some opening fees, closing fees, some slippage, trying to make it realistic. Now you might think to yourself, why are you showing me this? This is just clearly a terrible test. And it is a terrible test. I want you to look at it. I want you to get that deep down in you, how a strategy can just be terrible. You win 41% of the time, but it's not overcoming, these massive losses, right? Now, we're going to make 2 changes today that are going to turn this trade from a positive test or from a negative test to a positive test. And then as we go throughout the week, we're going to keep adding things to this to where by Friday, I think you'll be pleased with this test. And hopefully we'll learn some stuff together as we go. So I'm going to do one thing, and let me show you this test. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the same exact test, but I've done 2 things. First off, I'm still trading it every day, still doing it 10:15 in the morning, all those things. But I've added 2 criteria. A, I'm only doing this if I make sure I collect at least $24. 24 times 100 for those new to options, so $2,400. I want to collect $2,400 credit on this iron fly, or else I don't want to trade it. That's the first thing. Now, let's just stop there for a second and talk through that. Why is that so important, Dan? Why would it be so important to make sure you're getting enough money on this trade?
Well, because again, hitting this concept of extrinsic value, the bigger the extrinsic value or more juice in your options, the more when it contracts, there's more juice there for your orange juice, right? Troy, orange juice in the morning. So it's basically saying we don't mind low volatility, right? We would prefer high volatility, which is another discussion because people think high volatility doesn't come at a price. But remember, when you get VIX of 24, 25, and you say, I love it for an iron condor because I can get so much wider on a one day iron condor, but it's saying goats are jumping out the window. The market's just getting beat up. You're ignoring that. So, but the big with this test by Troy putting on a guardrail, or I would call it risk management of $2,400 is saying, yes, I don't want to do it at the lowest volatility of the year. I don't want to do it with VIX at 12, 13, 14. We have our limits and we want to get a certain amount. So that's being extremely responsible. Again, some people forget iron condors can work in low volatility environment, but as Troy's saying, I've got my limits, right? And I think so putting this guardrail in is really good.
I mean, and having that minimum premium, what you do, if you graph it out, what happens is the more credit you receive, the wider your width,
right?
Is you're going to get. And so, if you're collecting $300 on a 150 wide iron fly, or I mean, $300, not $30,000. I'm saying $300 total, $3 with the options. You're going to get crushed because you ain't got no room.
That's right. That's right. And it's like, and that's where people are getting nervous now for people who've been doing 0-day and 1-day iron condors the last 2 weeks, especially 0-day, you're getting maybe 200 points.
That's right.
between the short strikes. Now, as we go 18, 17, you're like,
that's right.
And now it's like, ugh, that doesn't look good. The Brussels sprout looks burnt. I don't like it anymore. Doesn't mean that it can't work better than it did 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah. Because if the ranges in the market dry up also, you can do it. So it's not, but I think that's an important thing. But it is a two-headed monster, Troy. It's not just volatility high or low, right? I'm more than willing to give up some of the higher volatility if the market's a little more behaved, right? And so it's not just I need my hive, I need my gin. No, you need your gin and you need some other safety things going on.
That's right. Yeah, you're not gonna like doing that. And one of the things this test it automatically fixes if you do that is you're not going to get a situation where you need a VIX minimum or maximum 9 filter or something like that. Like this is going to keep you out of a low VIX environment.
That's right.
Because those days when there's no vol left in these legs, everything's been squeezed out. We're just in a desert. You're not going to put it on, and you wouldn't want to put it on.
No, because it's like your room is negated. It's like
that's right.
You walk a half a block, you're in trouble.
That's right.
And so yeah.
And so the second thing, and this is it for the day, and we'll continue tomorrow. I think this will be a good little exercise. Is you're going to skip day of and day before Fed funds, CPI, PPI, unemployment rates. Now, Dan, again, this can sound like we're if you know and traded options for any length of time, these might sound like points. But the point of this show is not just for people who have been trading options; it's for people who want to learn options. And so,
that's right.
Why would you not want to have collect a bunch of credit range bound strategy on the day before and the day of Fed funds, CPI, PPI, and unemployment rates?
Yeah, and again, Troy, I'm going to blame you for bringing up that thing with the Baltimore and the sports thing with Baltimore to give the answer here. But it's like if I knew in Chicago, okay, these two gangs on Thursday at 5:00 are going to be doing a little gang warfare, right?
Yep.
If I had a practice, let's say I had a game with some guys at that time, I might forego the game.
Yeah.
Right. I might, and bringing that horrible analogy into trading, what don't you want? What are the two things that hurt you on a one-day iron butterfly? You say volatility and price. That's it. Well, let's throw volatility out of there for a degree, because one-day volatility isn't even going to be in the ballpark of the effective price move. So it comes to price move. So you're basically bringing up some major catalysts, right, that could move the market. Doesn't mean they're going to, but they have a history of you can have some gaps either the day or some movement the day of or the day after. CPI, PPI, Fed, the Fed rate. These are all catalysts. And it's basically saying, hey, if you're doing range-bound trades, especially think about this. When you're doing iron butterflies one day, right, you're basically running across the highway at 4 PM making a bet during a traffic. It's different than if you're doing a 30-day iron butterfly, you're running across the highway at about 3:00 in the morning. It's an easier bet. But when you're going 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and I think that's the problem here, is you don't have a lot of room. And so avoiding some of these catalysts are very, very important to just, a lot of it's common sense, right? But you're thankful that that Options Omega has these things, because it does, and it did, right? It made a big difference. So, but in reality, if you talk to people who are doing 0-day iron condors or 1-day iron condor, people who've been doing them a while, they'll tell you, find me one that says, none of those things bother me, right?
Yeah.
Right. Find me one who's been doing it a while that'll say, I go wherever I want movement. Well, that's not a one-day iron butterfly, right? So
that's right.
So yeah, it's definitely something that for 0-day stuff you want to be very well aware of.
That's right. Well, I mean, if you look at this test for today, we end today, and you say, guys, I'm gonna be honest, that's still a crappy test. We agree, but we have taken it from a losing test to a winning test, which is always the first step. Tomorrow, we're going to look at some other things, and we'll do this every day this week. We'll keep improving upon this. And like I said, I think by Friday, we might have something that could be special. So with that being said, Dan, it's going to be a fun day. We could end up unchanged for the day, which would break a lot of hearts.
Oh, yeah.
It could
go up, it could go down. And I just want to say something for this test real quick that,
please,
folks, this is a wonderful opportunity to, as we do this together, that's what a backtesting tool, Options Omega backtesting tool, isn't something to help you learn. But during this week, we're going to learn about one day trades and what goes into being successful on a 0 or a 1-day trade. But we're going to also focus on this weird thing called iron butterfly. And so, but I think it's the process that we want you to take this process over the 4 or 5 days, implement it yourself, because that's what you want to do is, think about it. You just want to come up with one good strategy that you can do. And I think this is going to be the opportunity this week, at least, to go through the process of what goes into it, what kind of thought goes into building, a strategy. And this is it. I mean, this is really it. You're saying, well, what if this, and what do you do about this? But a lot of it starts with, well, what's the strategy?
That's right.
What's the good, bad, and ugly of this strategy? So I'm looking forward to it also to learn some more.
I think it's going to be fun. Someone somewhere in America this past Friday, opened a 3DTE iron fly, and they're not going to be happy today. I don't know who that is. I'm not saying I don't know, but I have a feeling someone sold the 50 Delta iron fly.
Yes.
And today they have to deal with that. So we'll talk about that. So, all right, Dan, it was great to see you. I'll see you at the same time tomorrow. And we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good week, guys.